Tesla CEO responded to a Twitter user saying, quote, "My conversations with Gates have been underwhelming, to be honest."
We analyzed all the top OEMs around the world, tried to figure out which one would be the best for us. GM was hands down the best one.
All looked less like a business and more like a business plan. Not much in the way of sales, no earnings whatsoever, and no production for years.
Vegan Beyond Fried Chicken at KFC.
I wouldn't want to be short during Battery Day.
This is the Clean Energy Show with Brian Stockton and James Whittingham.
Hello and welcome to episode 30 of the Clean Energy Show. I'm Brian Stockton.
And I'm James Whittingham. 30 sounds like a big number, Brian. What do you think about that?
It is a big number.
It's huge, and I can see you today for the first time. You have your Seattle Kraken hat on. It's people, if you went out in the public, which you don't, you'd be a good conversation starter.
Well, I have a story about that, but yes, we have a different setup this week. We're actually recording video, so there will be a video version of this on YouTube, at least for the first half hour or something. But yes, this is a brave new world. I'm here in my bomb shelter. I've got you over here on the Skype. I've got a camera recording in front of me. And yes, I'm wearing the hat because we're doing the video. I wouldn't normally be wearing a hat down here. But here's my story. I went into the office the other day at the university, and COVID protocols, they have somebody at a desk there, and they've hired students to man a desk at every door, and they just keep track of everybody that's going in. So, you give your name, rank, and serial number, as it were. And then just as I was leaving, the student at the desk said, "Nice hat."
And that, sir, was worth the $35 right there.
Yes, it was. The students think I'm cool.
Why would you think that?
I'm the cool professor.
What he didn't say, Brian, was "nice hat, boomer." That's what he wanted to say. Okay, oil giant BP says oil demand may have peaked in 2019. We're going to talk about that. That is shocking news to me. And I realized something about fake chicken this week that knocked my socks right off. And we have hate mail. You'll be happy to hear. And Nikola is apparently a huge fraud, according to Market Research Group. Nikola, the semi-truck and pickup truck maker that everyone had their hopes on a few years ago. I'm not saying they're a giant fraud for legal reasons, but other people are. Okay, I'm just the messenger here. I'm not the decider in chief, so don't sue me. Anyway, how are you doing this week? It's good to see you in the bomb shelter, nice and secure. You need an air filtration system down there.
No, it's true. And I have a little fan back there, which I can't have it on now because it'd be too noisy for the podcast. But yeah, I should really have that on when I'm not in here.
Okay. So yeah, we're on YouTube for a little while this week, and find our channel and subscribe, because if you do, it helps us a lot. And why not be on YouTube, I say. So what is your big story of the week, Brian? What have you been thinking about? I have no idea. We don't talk about these things in advance, so it's going to be a big surprise to me.
No, well, there's a few things. Lion Electric in Quebec, they've sold some trucks to Amazon. I was going to talk about the BP report, global oil demand. That's, it's a big week. And Nikola, I was going to mention that too. So yeah, lots to talk about. Well,
let's get into it. What do you think about the BP report? Because our whole show is based on, this stuff happening at 2030. It's happening too quick, Brian. It's all happening too quick. We're going to have to cancel the show. These things, they sneak up on you. Were you surprised by this? The thing that one of the major oil companies in the world is saying that oil one of their three scenarios says that it peaked already.
It already peaked. Yeah. Well, they're one of those big giant corporations that they were the ones that ruined the Gulf of Mexico, weren't they?
Sure, they've ruined a lot of things.
But they seem to see the writing on the wall here. There's a story from Green Tech Media just from yesterday, and the headline is how BP plans to make oil-like returns from renewables. So they've seen the writing on the wall. They know that one of the scenarios is that oil has already peaked.
Greenwashing.
And, it says,
I call greenwashing.
The oil major wants to make returns of 8 to 10% from renewables as it chases a 50 gigawatt target for 2030. There's that date again.
2030. Well, a lot of these people say that they're getting into clean energy, but as big as BP is, I'm sorry, they could be dumping all their money into the green. But if they put a couple of billion in, or a few hundred million, or whatever it is, it's tiny compared to what their whole coffers are. That it's just, I don't know what to say. They have a new CEO, I think. That's and do you know what the reaction is to this? Do you know what the reaction is? It's bullshit. No. It's bullshit from our Canadian. We need a new term for people like Jason Kenney who say, it's not true. We have people who say that it's going to go on for decades, very strong. And his people are lying to him. What he's saying is, airplanes are going to run on unicorn farts. He literally said that. That was his defense. And of course, they're not going to run on unicorn farts until we genetically make a unicorn that farts energy, which is possible. However, there are electric planes right now, commercial electric planes in BC that are running on electricity. So, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If airplanes were the only thing using fossil fuels, it would not save his little stinky buttock in Alberta.
There is commercial electric planes already working. They're, of course, very small, but, it's just the beginning. I actually figured out what the problem is, though, James, in people comprehending this. I figured this out.
What is it?
Are you familiar with the 5 stages of grief?
Very.
Yes. Okay, so the 5 stages of grief, the first one is denial, and the second one is anger, and then it's bargaining, depressioning, and acceptance. But I think this is the problem. We're somewhere between denial and anger. The oil industry is basically dying, or, already dead in terms of BP's forecasts. But we're between the denial and the anger stage. So next is going to be bargaining.
I've started to hear signs of bargaining already. Haven't you? I mean, with the federal government coming down with a green budget and all. Let's hear a clip here.
Now, Alberta's energy minister also doesn't believe oil is dead or even near death. Sonia Savage telling Global News forecasts of future energy consumption show oil and gas dominating the energy mix for decades to come.
Thank you, Tomassia.
Our show is a comedy show now, you see. Dominating the energy mix for decades to come. How do you tell these people when BP is the energy mix? And they're saying no. Like, how do you bargain with these idiots in Alberta who think everything's going to be fine? And your Brad Walls of the world who say, well, cell phones are made out of oil. Don't be an idiot. We can't go green or we won't have a cell phone. We need a name for these people. I want to call them vole hangers because they're all a bunch of voles going over the cliff and they're hanging on for dear life. That's what we need a better name than that, but something like that.
Yeah. Lemmings. Maybe is it lemmings? Is that better?
Lemmings go over the cliff. Lemming hanger.
Lemming hangers?
I like
that
voles.
Doesn't make any sense.
Something about voles. There's something about voles that I like, though. I don't know what it is, but these people, are they living in a dream? I mean, they think that we're living in a dream, but look at the trends. Look at how coal, and they even mentioned coal. Coal is now more expensive than green energy everywhere, even in Canada now. And then you got to put carbon capture, which costs billions of dollars on top of that. You don't need to when everything is, Hey, guess what? We have a special guest this week. You're going to be very surprised by this, Brian.
Yeah, tell me.
Alexa is here.
What do you want to play?
Alexa, cancel. She's hooked right into
Canceling.
my mixer. She's hooked right into my mixer. Alexa, what's the capital of Uganda?
The capital of Uganda is Kampala.
There you go. Capital of yeah.
And what does Alexa think of the current oil situation?
Alexa, what's the price of oil?
Here's something I found on reference.com. The cost of an oil tank varies greatly because
Alexa,
most consumers...
Cancel. Alexa, who is Brian Stockton?
Brian Stockton is an irrelevant boomer with an anal leakage problem.
Yeah, you're going to have to update your Wikipedia page.
Damn it.
Yeah, she's not entirely reliable, but she is a third person. Yeah, Because she's here. If we need any information, Brian, any fact, we can go on that. But she's not very bright. I've had her for a couple of years, and she hasn't gotten smarter. The problem here, Brian Stockton, is that if they don't know what's coming, you and me are screwed. Because if they're living in a fantasy land and thinking that this massive wave of green tech that is becoming cheaper than anything else, and will therefore economics will take over and it'll wipe out the marketplace, and plus government policy around the world, which BP cites. And you know what they also cited? They also cited people from the pandemic will permanently work from home. Did you hear that part?
I know I missed that, but it makes sense. We're going to definitely shift to more of that for sure.
Nikola has become a giant fraud. And you see, there was a research company, right, that did a report on them and found out that one of the things was they never had a working truck. So they had this picture of a video of their truck, their hydrogen-powered battery electric truck rolling down a highway years ago. And, of course, it was a highway that had an incline on it, and it was not actually rolling. What do you think about the whole Nikola situation?
Yeah, and they claimed many times that it was a working prototype. So this is definitely a problem. And once you're a publicly traded company, all of these things become important because if you're not telling the truth, it is, potentially securities fraud.
And the boys over at Electric, excuse me, were on top of this for months and months, and they were saying that something smells here, even though they had met and saw a demonstration of one of their off-road vehicles once about 2 years ago, and they're quite impressed, even though the thing broke down. But it's disappointing, and the stock is going up. How do you explain that, Brian Stockton? I'll tell you how I explain it. I'll explain it right now. It's because of the frenzy over Tesla, the retail frenzy, the retail stock investors like yourself who have gone in. Well, everyone else has jumped in after you, and you're a wealthy man now. But they all are saying, well, we need a piece of this pie too. We need to get on the clean energy gravy train and get rich. But their stock has gone up after this fraud revelation. What do you make of that?
Yeah, there was a bit of a dip, but yeah, it's up 4% so far today. So it's a little bizarre. I don't quite get it.
Well, people are stupid. This is a problem that you and I face every day with our show, and our listeners face every day because our listeners are smart. Unlike, people who don't listen to our show. Thank you for listening to our show, by the way. And we'd like to hear from you. Twitter is Clean Energy Pod. Get on the Twitter. Contact us. Tweet us. Send us links. The things that you're interested in. And Brian, I actually do have some feedback this week, if you don't mind. Of course, we're only 6 days away from Battery Day. Did you know that? Battery Day at Tesla. And you hold a position that nothing is going to happen on Battery Day. Here's Jim Cramer.
If he does not show something that indicates that he's got a battery that is game-changing, then we're going to suffer for the same overhang that we had when Tesla was supposed to be out of the S&P 500. So you better hope for something big if you're buying it for Battery Day.
Well, I'm not buying it for Battery Day, but I do think it'll go up.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of that is already built into the price, so I still think it might drop a bit after Battery Day. But there was actually some late breaking news from Electrek. They have somebody sent them photos of the new Tesla Roadrunner battery cell. So that was
now. Have they confirmed that that's the Tesla Roadrunner?
Yes, the Electrek says they confirmed it, and it's a bigger battery. It's more like a D-cell sized or bigger than D-cell. So it's a different form factor, and it's a larger battery. So yeah, nice little scoop there from Electrek. They think
that is huge, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally and figuratively, because it's like going. It's not the cells in a car are not AA. They're bigger than that. But imagine going from a AA battery to a D-cell battery for a flashlight, a big fat flashlight. Here's what Electrek said on Friday on their podcast.
I wouldn't want to be short during Battery Day. That's my impression right now.
Yeah, it does sound like there's going to be some monumental changes or monumental announcements.
Yeah, and Elon tweeted today that he's going to have many exciting things to be unveiled. the battery day. So it's very likely now it's not just going to be about the batteries, it's going to be what the battery is going to enable. So
not just about the batteries, but what the batteries enable. But this cell thing is huge because it makes it a lot cheaper to have a form factor that fat. They must have changed. It's obvious they've changed the chemistry to allow that. And the cooling, you have to have less cooling and heating elements in there. So it all makes it cheaper, which is what we're all looking for. We're looking to make electric cars cheaper and available to the masses.
Yeah, and if the cells are just bigger, then it's kind of like, one of the new cells equals 3 of the old ones. So it's definitely, if that's what they're doing, a cost savings thing. But I've always thought like the interesting thing about batteries and like, Tesla has cars on the road already that are great, like great performance and great range. It's kind of like the technology is already good enough. They actually don't even have to improve it. It's just we need to make more of them. So, I keep saying it's more about scaling up production, which is, of course, another thing they're going to announce at Battery Day. So it's going to be a massive scale up of production with a bigger, more efficient battery. It's going to be a big deal.
Well, gas prices, oil prices possibly peaking in 2019, a breakthrough battery technology possibly here that is going to make a difference. If it makes any difference at all, it's bound to make a difference on price. I think we can agree on that, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the factors. Again, it's like the batteries are almost cheap enough, so they just need to bring them down a little bit, and then it's comparable with the prices people will pay for gasoline cars. We're
and remember,
almost there.
This is where the energy storage part of the mix comes in too, because solar can be used 24 hours a day. Wind can be used on calm days. When the batteries get cheap, it's not just about electric cars. It's about the whole damn kit and caboodle. And Tony Seba, my guy I keep mentioning, 3 years ago, he was talking about oil prices peaking around now.
Oil demand will peak around 2020 at 100 million barrels, and it'll drop to about 70 million barrels per day by about 2030. What our numbers indicate is that more than 70% of Bakken oil is going to be uncommercial, stranded forever. So Bakken oil gone, and essentially all the assets associated with Bakken are going to be also stranded. So the pipelines, the refineries, and so on, which is going to engender its own vicious cycle.
See that we're the Bakken. You, me, we're the Bakken. The Bakken's here in Saskatchewan and North Dakota, and it's toast. And it's not the most expensive. It's not the oil sands. It's cheaper than the oil sands. The oil sands, which they say is going to be fine, keep putting billions and bail us out. Oh my God, we're screwed. And people are going to be, a week from today, there's a federal budget in Canada that's going to partially address a rebound from COVID by having some green things in the mix, and our premier is begging the prime minister to don't forget about us and the oil industry because it's important. Honestly, it is, and you're living on fairy dust farts if you believe anything else, Brian.
All right, shall we move on to some other stories?
If you want to move on, we can move on. I don't feel like moving on. I feel like we're screwed, and we should stay here all day talking about how stupid
I'm concerned about your blood pressure, James, and that's
there you go. I also, in addition to having Alexa here, I have a blood pressure monitor which I can go on halfway through the show, and we can check as we go.
We should have that on the whole time.
Yes, and it should be right on the screen on the YouTube channel in the corner. Okay, go ahead, Brian.
So Amazon to buy 10 electric trucks from Lion Electric. Now, that's kind of a small order, but this is a Quebec company known for making things like electric school buses. So, I just wanted to mention that. It's nice that a Canadian company is getting in on the action as Amazon attempts to go carbon neutral with really everything in their operations, but focusing on things like delivery vans. So, interesting development from Quebec.
How do you think the Canadian economy should diversify to address the fact that we're not going to get revenue from oil as much and stuff like that? Should we be funding bus companies and auto manufacturing? Is it realistic to think that we could manufacture EVs? Because a lot of France is trying to do that, and I'm not sure they can just say we're going to do that and it'll happen.
Yeah, well, Canada's never had a great history of making cars. I mean, I've always wanted a Bricklin. You remember the Bricklin?
No. What's that?
Canada's sports car that came out in the 70s. and it looked a bit like a DeLorean. It wasn't, stainless steel like that, but we don't have a huge history of making cars. The Bricklin was a really fun looking car, but ended up soaking, I think it was New Brunswick where it was made, and they ended up soaking up a lot of government money and going bankrupt.
Well, I hope that we can. I mean, there's lithium mining, which we could, that's possibly even going on in Saskatchewan. Maybe they could put some money into that, because there's going to be a lot of demand for lithium. And what else? Copper, magnesium.
Yeah, nickel. There's
cobalt.
Reports of Tesla signing a deal with a company in BC to mine low carbon nickel, because nickel's another thing. We're going to need lots of that for batteries. So, and if we can get that from clean sources, BC has mostly hydroelectric power. So there's a mining company in BC that says that they can mine nickel with, very low carbon. So things like that are probably huge opportunities.
Well, let's get to the hate mail, shall we? We have some feedback this week, and somebody on the YouTube, where we have 8,700 views of my review of the NCM bicycle. We also have a little clip of me starting my 2013 Nissan Leaf in minus 40 degree temperatures. And we have a person here, I won't mention his name, says, "You make it sound like EV is superior over the gas model. But if you applied the same parameters to a gas model, it would smoke that EV." Literally. "You can plug the gas model in also and is ready to go and be warm, and you do not lose 50% of your range due to the cold." Now, I told this mindless weasel that 25% of the range is lost in a gas car. And of course, if you plugged in your car, it does not warm up. It just warms up the engine. It still takes time in minus 40 to warm up, as you and I both know. And also, they don't run as well in cold weather. When it's minus 40, the air needs air to mix with gas to make an explosion, and that doesn't all work terribly perfectly in minus 40. And then your transmission is cold, and there's no transmission in an electric car. There's no any of that stuff. You get into an electric car, it's preheated. You put the pedal to the metal, and you go like a rocket. And he's wrong. Okay, Brian Stockton. A poll we had on Twitter, unless you want to add something to the troll on YouTube.
No, I was just going to say, one time it was about minus 40, and I went to start my gas car to warm it up. And the best thing you can do with a gas car is turn it on and turn on the electric seats, like if you can get the electric heated seats going. But one time it was so cold, my electric seats wouldn't even turn on. I would hit the button and it would just turn off again, hit the button and turn it off again.
No, not going to do it. Oh, my God. Yeah. Okay, so we had a poll, Brian Stockton. Should Brian Stockton wear his Seattle Kraken hat on your next YouTube show? 83% of our listeners said yes, and you are wearing your hat.
I wear it, yes. But only because that student said it looked cool.
You see, he's just... I don't believe the student, Brian. I don't believe him. Okay. We have only a couple of minutes here left on the YouTube, but I should say that I said that if I could buy stock in Wexit, I would, because things are going to get very bad. There's going to be a lot of talk about it. It's going to get big, and as long as the politicians keep calling the green wave unicorn farts, then it's just they're doomed. There's going to be a lot of unrest and disenchantment in Western Canada. Michael says, "I attended a Zoom conference where the engineer claimed that geothermal can take care of 60% of Saskatchewan's energy needs, combined solar, hydro, and wind, and I think you've got her cased." And I happen to really agree with that, because we have a huge potential of geothermal in Saskatchewan. I superimposed the maps of the potential for solar, which is best in Saskatchewan than any other province. The map for potential for geothermal, which is about the same as Alberta, but better than the rest of Canada. And the potential for wind, which is better than most of Canada. So we have these three potentials here, and our government, they're clueless. They're just like, they're sticking with the old school ways. And it's very frustrating.
Yeah, well, I've got a story here from the Estevan Mercury newspaper. Canada's first geothermal production and injection well test exceeds expectations. So the first 20 megawatt facility is in the design phase. I think we have this one geothermal well. It's begun to produce power, and it is apparently doing great. So, yeah, I don't know what the math is, if that's better than solar, or if you use geothermal as a base load and then add in the wind and solar. So, the exact math, I'm not sure, but it seems like it works.
All right, we'll say goodbye to YouTube. Check us out on our podcast if you in the podcast, and I hope you are, and we'll be right back. You can reach us at the Clean Energy Show on Twitter, Clean Energy Pod, by email, cleanenergyshow@gmail, and by voicemail on our voicemail feedback page, speakpipe.com/cleanenergyshow. Please check out our YouTube channel for videos of this show, episode archives, and special content. And, don't forget to subscribe, or we will find you. We know where all of you are. Coming up, Brian, the lightning round. But first, I want to talk about KFC plant-based chicken. Have you tried it yet?
No, I have not.
Well, I'm going to. I haven't yet. I'm going to, and I'm going to make a video for our channel. Unlike some people who go to Vancouver to make a video on superchargers and then don't post it, I'm going to, of course, mine's a bit easier. Yes, a bit easier. One camera, one angle. And I'm going to go to KFC, order the popcorn chicken, and eat it live on a camera, and you'll see my true reaction, because I can't fake things. I'm not that kind of actor. You will see me grimace or throw up or salivate or go, it's okay. We'll see. It'll be a true and honest reaction.
So are you going to get the chicken and then the fake chicken and then compare the two?
No. Maybe. Should I do that? Because I was thinking of going with the nuggets. Or not the nuggets, the popcorn chicken, sorry.
Yeah, and there's a chicken version and there's a fake version. You should get them both, and then you can compare. Contrast and compare.
Okay, so this is something we've been talking about on our show for the last couple of weeks. And to my shock, this is all kind of a new concept to us. We haven't been covering the food agricultural change that is also going to happen in the next 10 to 15 years, where plant-based meats will become cheaper than regular meats and take over the marketplace because of the price disruption. And they're also working on, I saw some 3D printed steaks the other day, which looked bizarre. It looked like they were made out of Play-Doh, but when they were fried up, they actually looked half decent, but they're still working on it. Give them 10 years and they will be cheaper, and they'll have the texture of the tendon and the muscle down, and you'll be able to eat whatever you want, and you'll be able to do it cheaper. So that's going to disrupt agriculture. However, to my surprise, Brian Stockton, and I almost pooped my pants when I saw this, because I went on the KFC website, because my son likes KFC, so we go there once a week, or he brings stuff home once a week. And the fake chicken is the same price to the penny as the regular chicken right now today. So what the hell? It's already happened. We don't have to wait to 2030. I'm thinking, do we do a show next week? I mean, is it over already?
Yeah, just call it early at, mid 2020, and instead of going all the way to 2030.
With oil demand possibly peaking in 2019, thanks to the pandemic. However, I don't know. What do you think is going to happen when people start having agriculture disrupted and oil disrupted? I mean, is this place going to go mad? Are you worried about that at all?
Yeah, thinking about moving. I mean, there might be someplace better to end up.
Where's there a safe haven? Where's your safe haven?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the one good part about, I think Saskatchewan's well equipped for global warming because, we're not near the coast, so we're not going to get flooded out in that way. So in that way, it's good. But yeah, these other disruptions.
Clearly, you're thinking of living to 100 here as well. I think I could drop dead next day, and mushrooms would go out of my head. But you think that you're going to be fine for a long time and you should move. I don't know where I would go.
I'm planning to live to 117.
117.
Yeah.
There could be, Elon Musk should get on that. Do you have any other major stories that you want to talk about this week?
Just one other story here from Electric Autonomy Canada. And they're reporting that Transport Canada did a study and found that there is inadequate supply of electric vehicles at Canadian dealerships to meet demand. And to that, I say no shit.
Because you're a man who went looking for one and couldn't get one, right? So,
yeah. And what supply there is, it goes to BC, it goes to Quebec, it goes to Ontario. But yeah, there is more demand than supply.
So you ended up with a Tesla because you could get one. You could order it online.
That's part of it. Yeah, yeah. And, you know, I would have preferred a cheaper vehicle, but, you know, the Tesla seemed to make sense in terms of, it's not the cheapest, but it's a good value.
So they said the Audi is going to be pretty well. There was one of the people who were well stocking things, and maybe VW as well. Volkswagen with the new. Have you seen the reviews for the ID3? Have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I haven't really dived into it. I think there's been sort of mixed reviews, but yeah, I think Volkswagen will eventually have a good supply of them, but it's, you know, they're going to Europe first, so we're not going to see that in Canada for a while here.
So they had some software issues, and they're also the fit and finish, just like Tesla. They said the driving, from what I could understand, to summarize the reviews, the driving was very good. But the some of the fit and finish wasn't, and you know, that's kind of reminiscent of Tesla. I wonder if they rushed it. Do you think they rushed it?
Well, in a general sense, yeah, but you know, they'll get their act together, I think.
Okay. Well, it's time for the lightning round.
The Clean Energy Show lightning round.
Brian, as I've said before, I legally have to ask you 3 times, are you ready?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you absolutely sure? Because I have a buzzer this week. Are you ready?
Wait. Yes, I'm ready.
I don't believe you.
So what's the buzzer for?
If you stumble on answering one of these, having a response to one of these headlines, you get the buzzer.
Okay.
And it's very unpleasant, as you can tell.
Yes.
Tesla is hiring Canadian solar installers. So who's applying? I want some Tesla on my roof next year.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I've sort of been waiting for the expansion of the solar into Canada. So are they hiring people all over the country or what's going on?
I don't know. This was actually from one of our listeners, and they saw it in, I believe, Ontario. I could be wrong about that. So that's actually quite, you know, this is something we haven't talked about. Tesla is kind of stealthily really ramping up their solar production, finally, after years of delays and stuff like that. So I don't know. Here, I'm going to move on. VW believes it can catch up to Tesla with 1.5 million EV capacity by 2023 or sooner. Do you agree with that?
No, but
it took too long.
It's the delay. It's the internet
Okay.
delay. It's not my fault.
I'll give you the benefit of a delay. Okay, go ahead.
No, I don't think they'll make it, but it's good that they're trying, and they might get close to that.
Tesla is working on a carbon neutral nickel supply deal with Giga Metals in Canada. Have you thought about that one?
Well, I brought that up earlier. I think that's great. This is Canada is known for this kind of mining, so there's a huge potential here, I think, for things like, as we said before, lithium and nickel and so forth.
Tesla to export Model 3 made in China cars, something Elon Musk said they wouldn't do in the fourth quarter. The People said, asking not to be identified. So this is a report. They're going to go to Singapore, Australia, New Zealand. What do you think about that? And Europe?
I think that's fine. I mean, they really only have 2 car factories online, one in California and one in China. And so until they have other capacity and they want to export them to other places, I think that's fine.
Who was it? That guy who's been taking apart the Teslas. What's his name? The drunk guy? Because there was like a bottle of whiskey in one of the shots.
Is that right? Yeah, no, I can't recall. I can't think his name.
I can't remember his name, but he's an automotive industry insider, and he consults. And he said that the cars, he figured, because he's been dealing with China, that they can make the Model 3 20% cheaper in China than in the United States. And I thought, well, maybe you should start pumping them out of China then.
Sandy Munro, that's his name.
Monroe.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. 20% cheaper. Yeah, why not?
Why not? Make them in China, but Trump will come down hard on people. So, Tesla is to update the Model 3 center console, steering wheel, and heat pump and more, the rumor says. That's out there. Does this affect you, Brian Stockton? Do you think that all that stuff needs updating?
Yeah, the car's been out for a few years, so that's typical to do some updates. I would definitely prefer to have a Model 3 with the heat pump because that's going to be a more efficient way to heat the car. But I'm happy with the one I've got. I'm not. What's that syndrome where you're upset that you don't have the latest thing?
Sorry, you stumbled on syndrome. I had to give you a buzzer.
Yeah,
I just like using the buzzer. It's it. Who wouldn't like using? Come on. Okay, report 47 states could meet 100% of electricity needs using in-state renewables. That is to say that almost the entire U.S. could meet 100% of their local electricity needs using renewables, and the report studied that. Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised. I mean, we're heading towards 100% everywhere, so why not?
All right, Brian Stockton, all right. Rivian. The R1T electric pickup trucks are slowly rolling off the production line. Your thoughts?
Oh, I didn't know that. That's exciting.
Sorry. You're supposed to know everything. It's part of the deal. It's an unwritten deal. Okay, GM unveils the Hummer EV's crab mode. A crab mode. The four-wheel steering system. That is to say that all the wheels turn a little bit so you can turn like a tank on a dime. Good or bad?
Sure. It's good. More features, the better.
Scotland is...
Give me the buzzer on that one.
Okay. Scotland is now giving interest-free government loans for used EVs. Could we do that in Canada? Should we do that in Canada?
Yes, we could. Maybe at the budget coming up, there'll be some more EV incentives.
So you got 5 years to pay off an interest-free loan. Interest isn't a huge part of car loans when you're buying a new car. I see it's like, $1,000, $1,500 is what I noticed once. I guess it depends on your interest rates, what's going on with that. But a new car, they often have deals, but they don't have those deals for used cars. It's one of the reasons we bought new a couple times is because the monthly payments were cheaper on the new car because the interest was 0 or 0.5% or something. And and then you get a new car. So,
if you time it right, you can get 0% for sure, yeah.
So Tesla releases a new software update enabling autopilot to stay in passing lane if you want. As a Tesla owner, what do you think about this? Is it a deal? Is it an important thing? Is it something you thought about when you're driving?
It's a feature you can disable, so, people who want it will use it. People who don't want it will not use it.
You, Brian Stockton, will you use it?
No, I don't like to stay in the passing lane, so no, I don't think I would use that.
I don't think you're supposed to stay in the passing lane, technically.
You're not supposed to. I was sort of confused by the feature. I didn't quite understand it, but, who knows?
Okay, there's now 500,000 Nissan Leaf sold worldwide. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I did see that. It's still second place, I think, to the Model 3 in terms of overall volume sales, but good for Nissan.
1 in 4 cars produced in Europe will be fully electric by 2025, according to a new study.
That sounds about right. What do you think?
It's not about what I think. It's what you. This is you. This is a lightning round. The pressure is on you, Brian. I think that it's okay, but I think they also said that when they released it, they were going to sell millions by a couple of years ago, and that never happened. And part of it was because of the battery issues they had, and part of it was because, the range was just too short for a lot of people. Even though it would suit a lot of people's needs, people weren't willing to buy a second car for that much money. Although in the States, they were so cheap, and they still are. Like the Chevy Bolts that are down there now, like with Uber and everything, and did you know that Uber is giving... There's a green Uber deal now where they're giving $1.50 per ride. They charge the customer $1 extra for the ride. Did we talk about this last week? I don't think so.
Sort of, yeah.
They charge $1 extra for the ride. This is what Lyft has been doing already, and you can get an electric or hybrid, okay? But it also sort of guarantees you that you don't get a high school student with a muffler falling off. So it's kind of like cheaper than the premium service where you get a nice car like a Tesla Model S or something, but not as expensive as that, and you get a decent car. However, the drivers make $1.50 extra per ride, and somebody was pointing out that adds up to like $300 a month if you do 10 rides a day, and that would more than pay for a Chevy Bolt, which is like $200 a month now, especially for Uber drivers. They're getting a discount on them. And which is nothing. You could lease one, and then you save money on gas because you're responsible for the gas, so you're not spending money on gas. Which is, I don't know. Everybody should be jumping on this. Too bad the Bolt is has uncomfortable seats.
It's but yeah, for something like Uber, totally makes sense. Keep your upfront costs a little bit higher, but the running costs way lower.
And finally, Brian, Google aims to run on carbon-free energy by 2030. You're Google. You could do better than this, I say. 2 years from whenever you decided to, but they're saying 2030. This is my pet peeve. So let's go into that segment.
Clean energy pet peeve.
This is a pet peeve of mine when people and governments and companies like Google set targets where they clearly could do better. 2030 it's over by 2030. We know that. Our show's over by 2030. Everything's over by 2030.
Well, I think sometimes in the past when these things have been announced, then often the actual performance goes quicker, and then, they release updated targets. So let's look at this again in a year and see if they've updated that.
All right, Brian, that's it for this week's show. Next Tuesday is Battery Day. And are you excited about that? Are you going to be watching?
Yeah, no, it's perfect timing. It happens on Tuesday. We'll record on Wednesday. We'll have, the scoop on the whole thing. It's going to be very exciting.
Full team coverage from the Clean Energy Show on Battery Day, early Wednesday morning. Look for it on your favorite podcast app and on the YouTube. Brian, it's been a pleasure, and we'll talk again. And it's good to see you for once, and we'll see you again next week.
See you next week.